Greetings and welcome to the Southside Help Center show. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. This is an opportunity, if you have any questions, to give us a call here at the station. This is a live call-in show. So if you have any questions, give us a call. Our number here is 312-738-1060. This is the Southside Help Center show, and what we do on this show is we talk about services that the Southside Help Center has been providing for more than 20 years, almost 25 years now. So week to week, we try to bring you some services. The one thing we always talk about is alternative programming for youth, alternative programming for adults, so forth and so on. So therefore, we want to make sure that you know all of the things that we do at the Southside Help Center. I don't have a lot of time, so I want to make sure that we go ahead and get right into what we're going to be talking about today. I had let me read this letter, because one of the things we talked about was last week we had CETA on. With Aaron Fletcher, and something is going on with CETA that most people need to know, because this is a valued program that we have in our communities. And CETA, of course, is the program that helps you, the energy assistance program that helps you with your light and gas. They got the furnace program and the weatherization. But what's happening is the budget or the funding is being cut for this program. So next year, this program may or may not be in existence. But what they want you to do is they want you to call in the number, take this down, 773-701-4221, and talk with Aaron, because what's going to happen is they're going to be talking about going down and doing some lobbying for CETA. If you have benefited from this program, if you know someone who can benefit from this program, please, we have to come together as a community and talk about these programs and make sure that the funding that we get for these programs exists next year and the year after, because these are valuable programs and help people to stay warm, help people to keep on their lights, and also weatherize their homes, and as well as getting those new furnaces. Those are very, very, very high cost expenses, and sometimes we get caught up and we can't meet them. So therefore, we need programs like CETA, LIHEAP, and so forth. So give Aaron a call and definitely get involved with that program. So we talked about it last week. Just want to make sure we get that message out there. Now, this week we have Mr. Marcus Flenaugh on. Marcus is the head of the Youth Ready Chicago Community Council. I want to make sure I get that right. We want Marcus to talk a little bit about what that is and how does it affect us as a community. Marcus, you on.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sheriff.
No problem.
The Youth Ready Chicago Community Council is primarily a council of youth agencies, youth serving agencies within a particular region of Chicago. Chicago is split up into 6 regions based off of the Chicago Public Schools mapping.
Okay. We won't go to our overhead?
Yeah.
There we go.
So the 6 regions, of course, starting on the north side. The blue is the Region 1, Yellow 2, and so forth. Region 6, which Southside Help Center is responsible for, is the green area there, and that's primarily everything 83rd Street South to as far as 138th Street, and from the lakefront in the east as far west as Cicero.
Okay. So we got quite a large area that we're trying to deal with. And Marcus was the one that gave me the statistics we talked about last week when we talked about the number of youth we have, and we also talked about the number that we have enrolled in the programs. And one of the things we always talking about is we need these alternative programs for our kids, but yet we won't get them enrolled, so that's going to be very important. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit, Marcus, because we need to know how important this is.
Well, for example, the 6th region, we have 24,000, a little bit over 24,000 youth that are enrolled in programs. And these programs are being offered by community-based organizations like ourselves, the After School Matters program, Chicago Park District, Chicago Public Libraries, and so forth. What we want to do is increase opportunities for youth in those to participate in those programs. Currently, a lot of programs are have open spaces that are available, and most of the time youth and families just don't know about it. So that's part of my responsibility, is to get the word out to the youth and families about these programs that are being serviced in the 6th region.
Absolutely, and that's the thing we always talk about. If you have any questions and you would like to know more about Youth Ready Chicago, give us a call here at the station. We got a professional here. We got Mr. Marcus Flenaugh, and he'll tell you how you can get your youth involved, and also talk about the different regions and the effect that we have on these youth. And if you're watching the news You live in the city of Chicago. You know it's a lot of stuff going on with our youth in terms of violence. We need after-school programs to help them to get tutoring and education, and Southside Help Center provides that. So it's so important that you understand what Youth Ready Chicago is. Not only that, it talks about community and council, that we come together. How many agencies is involved in the council, Marcus? That's important as well.
We have a little bit, about 40 agencies who participate. Currently, that number is increasing every month. And these are primarily all youth serving agencies within the 6th region. So some of these agencies are providing after school programs, some are providing counseling services, some are providing tutoring, mentoring. These are all services that our youth need.
Absolutely. And if you recognize that your child needs some additional mentoring outside of what you're able to provide, they need some additional help with tutoring, these programs help. So it's so important that we get these kids enrolled in these programs. That's why we're doing a teen summit. Let me make sure that we mention that. Southside Help Center, along with Restored Hope and Sheldon Heights Church, that we're coming together as a community, and we're going to put on a youth summit. The youth summit will take place March the 19th. We'll be talking about violence prevention among youth. We'll be talking about domestic violence among youth. We'll be talking about HIV prevention among youth. These programs are vital, and that's why we're going to put on a summit that's going to talk about what you can do. And as a parent, we have a workshop worked in for you, signs and symptoms, what you need to look for when your kids are getting involved in new things, be it an abusive relationship, be it in substance abuse, when they begin to have sex. You need to know what to look for, and if you see this sign, then you know to look for this sign, so on and so on. So we got some for you as well, parents. It's very important that you guys come along and be involved in the Teen Summit March the 19th. It'll be from 10 to 3. It'll be at Sheldon Heights. Sheldon Heights is located on 114th and Halsted. They've been in the community for a long time, just doing great things. We'll have more information. We'll have that flyer for you next week, but it's all about the youth, and that's why we got Mr. Flenaugh here. If you have any questions about youth programs or in the 6th region, give them a call. Marcus heads up the 6th region, and every month they meet to talk about what we can do with these kids, what we can do for these kids, and make sure that we come together as a community and stay involved. I noticed you got another chart here. Let me switch up. We're going to put the chart up, the overheads up. We got a couple of them for you today. We're going to put up this one. And this right here, Marcus, explain this a little bit for me.
Well, the Youth Ready Chicago Community Councils, we're split up into 6 regions. So what this chart is primarily the contact information for the other 6 regions. So if you don't live in the 6th region, which is the far south side, you may live north or on the west side of the city, you could contact any of these other regional coordinators, and they can help.
And it's here, it's Youth Ready Chicago Career Development Center. Talk about that a little bit.
Now, the Career Development Center is the other half of Youth Ready Chicago. So the Career Development Center is what their primary focus is to work with youth 14 to 21 on job readiness and training. The 6th region program is at Felix Family Services, which is actually right across the street from us. And they provide the students with what they call CDC on Wheels, which is actually a training program where the students go through resume skills, interview skills, and several other topics on job readiness.
And this is why when we sit around and talk about what we don't have, we can't continue to do that. We have to look at these programs because there's 40 agencies involved in Youth Ready Chicago. So we're trying really hard to get our kids prepared for what's to come. And that just may be, I mean, a lot of times we're not talking about for the big bang, the big boom. We're talking about those little things that they need to know when we start talking about job readiness, when we start talking about programs like tutoring. Tutoring helps in job readiness because one of the things it talks about when your kids and you know that they're struggling in different areas, they come in. Southside has been providing youth programs for how many years now, Marcus?
Since 1989.
Since 1989. As a matter of fact, I don't want to tell Marcus his age, but when I first got there, Marcus was a member of one of our programs, and since then he's become the head of one of our programs. So Southside Help Center has not only been providing services, we've been cultivating people, because now Marcus is the head of Youth Ready Chicago Community Council. So it's majorly important that Marcus come on and talk about his experience and that people see him, and again that you call in, get this information, get those kids involved in programming. What we did was showed you a schedule. Southside Help Center is not the only agency that is providing these services, so you have to take a look or call Marcus and see what agency is functioning in that community, and get your kids involved. Again, it's so important that we prepare them, and a lot of times it's not the big things, but it's the little things that we have to do that gets them ready for what this society has to offer. So it's majorly important that we continue to talk about programming and youth programming. You may notice that over the last few weeks, we want to keep the focus and make sure we shine a light on our youth. We always talk about our future and what that's going to look like, and we already know what the present is. And we already know in order for the future to be something different, we have to prepare now. Correct. You know, when you look at our history, you look at our present, you look at our future, you start preparing now for what the future is. And how do you do that? Through programs like Youth Ready Chicago, through some of these other delegate agencies throughout the city of Chicago who are involved in this. You have to get involved, parents. You have to get those kids into those centers, into those places, and get this education that they need. And a lot of times as parents, we know a lot of things, and most of the time we believe we know most things. But then we come into those areas where we really know nothing, and that's the areas that we have to talk about. Who can help me to further my child's education? And this is where Marcus and Youth Ready Chicago come in. And talk about some of the events that you guys had and some of the things you got upcoming.
Wow. Well, we actually did a back-to-school event last school year, last summer actually. We had given out over 700 backpacks to community youth and within the 6th region. We had 27 agencies that were there recruiting and enrolling students for the program.
Stop right there, because that's important. Enrollment and recruitment, because one of the things we're going to do at the Teen Summit is we're opening it up for a lot of our agencies here so that they can definitely come in and set up so that they can enroll the youth into those programs. That's another reason why parents, you need to get to the Teen Summit March the 19th at Shelton Heights, is because there'll be a number of delegate agencies there who provide youth services, and you can get those kids enrolled into those programs right then. And again, Southside Help Center provides youth services and programs and have been doing it for a lot of years. Make sure, tell them the the programs that we have at the center, Marcus, because that's vital.
Okay. Well, we have several programs that include our male mentoring program, we have female mentoring, after school, homework help. We have a peer leadership program for high school students. We have 2 after school matters programs. Both are primarily focused on media arts. And we also do school-based programming where we actually go into the schools during the school day and work with the educators and the students in the school to teach life skills development and violence prevention.
Okay, what are life skills? Give me a little insight on life skills. What does that entail?
So life skills are primarily those skills that we learn, that refusal skills, when someone comes up to you with a blunt, learning how to say no.
Absolutely.
Conflict resolution.
Yes.
Learning how to resolve conflicts peacefully. Those are examples of life skills.
Yeah, and life skills are so very vital, because oftentimes, and in the past we've said, just say no. How do you just say no? And that's what preparation is. We have to prepare our kids for those times when those circumstances present themselves. And one of the things, Pastor Gilbert, when I was over at Shelton Heights on Monday, he was doing safe haven, and he did conflict resolutions. And one of the things that he said that really hit home with me was he talking about us preparing. He had the kids to do some role plays as to how they would react to a particular situation, and he had both of the groups to come up with situations, and then they played them out as a role. And the key is you prepare for something before it actually happens. Because if you already have a preparation, if you've already prepared for some circumstances, and when we start talking about circumstances, let's talk about the general things. When I talk about, it's like a loaf of bread. We know a loaf of bread in the house is a community item. That means that's for everyone. Then when you start talking about those things where this is mine, we start to separate, but we're talking about community things. So I want you to understand, we say those things that most of the time we know happen, like Marcus said, mention a blunt. That is something a lot of our kids will experience in terms of their first introduction to some type of substance, be it marijuana, alcohol, or cigarettes. It'll always be like that. So it's like, what do you do if that should happen? How do you work with and deal with peer pressure early on? When you get into the gate before it actually happens, how do we prepare them?
Right.
And that's where our negotiation skills come in. That's where our refusal skills come in. And that's where we want to prevent the conflict from coming in, because the conflict can arise from our children saying no or just saying no. So we have to talk about those things, general things that often happen with our youth, that we have to meet those things head on.
Right.
Violence is very important, in alternatives, alternative programming, and what do you do and where are those programs located. And the mentoring program is a vital piece. Vital piece. Talk about that mentoring program. Is very, very important that they understand what a mentor is, what a mentor does, and what that program offers. Talk about that a little bit for me, Mark.
Well, primarily our mentoring programs are group-based mentoring, where we have adult mentors to come in and share experiences with the youth. We are currently enrolling for both our male and female mentoring program. Our male mentoring program is actually going to begin kicked off next Wednesday for our spring session. So we're asking adults who are interested in becoming a mentor to come to Southside Help Center next Thursday, fill out the proper paperwork, and get signed up as a mentor. And we're also asking youth who are interested in having a mentor, having that big brother, the one that they can call to for advice.
Absolutely.
We're looking for those youth to come to the agency and also participate in the mentoring program.
Okay, we're going to come back to that too. We got a caller. Let's take this caller. Caller, you're in there. You're in there, caller.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I just turned you guys on, and the guy in a dark shirt, I do recognize you.
How are you?
You guys are doing a magnificent job, and keep up the good work. And the problem is, so many of our African Americans don't know what Chicago has to offer because they won't get up to find out.
That's right.
You know, and it's sad, you know, to see our children, and you really touched on a topic with the weed and the substance being brought to the children. I'm a Kennedy King student, and I used to work in the Halsted Mall.
Okay.
And, you know, I have watched this. I have experienced it. So now I'm like you guys. I want to fight back.
That's right.
And I'm going to school because I want to help our sisters that's struggling.
Absolutely.
So that we can protect our children from the substances and the elements that are out there. I just want to tell you guys, keep up the good work. And you guys are doing an awesome job. And for the guy on the right, I recognize your face as well. We need more brothers like you.
Thank you.
Why we can just try to recruit more brothers like you as well.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And actually, can I touch on something?
Sure, absolutely.
One of the things with the Youth Ready Chicago, what we're working on, we're working with the agencies to help them build capacity. And one of the things that we found out recently from some data that was released from the city was citywide, there's a lack, there's low number males interacting in programs. So what we're working with now is with the agencies to help build capacity so that they can attract more males to the programs and try to figure out solutions and why these young men are not participating.
And with that, touching on keeping with that is because you got to remember too, as mentors, this is a huge commitment. People oftentimes don't look at all we ask is an hour or two a month. That means if we meet 4 times, we just want you to come in maybe once a month and share your experience, strengths, and hopes. Now, this is the thing that we look for in mentoring. Mentoring always got to be no doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. Mentors are individuals who have experience. And a lot of times, those experiences may not come from that side of the fence. We need you to show them what not to do, to wind up in a particular circumstance that you yourself may have experienced. So when you start talking about mentoring and what that means, if you look up the word, it's just a teacher. It's a guide. It's a father. And a lot of times, father or teaching or guidance doesn't always come from the doctors, the lawyers, and the Indian chiefs. Sometimes it has to come from the other side, where we got brothers who have had bad experiences, who have paid that debt, and then come into a mentoring group and say, look, these are the consequences of my actions. This is what you can do to avoid it. But it's a large commitment. When you talk about mentoring for males and females, that's a huge commitment, and people always want to do it, but you're talking about an hour or two a month, and people can't find that hour or two a month to commit to these youth. It's so important that we do work on getting more of our African-American youth, our young males, get them in these programs. Mothers, bring them. Sometimes it may require you to bring them and sit with them. But we need this to happen in order for us to change our directions. It's so important. We're going to touch with, hold that question thought, Marcus. Let's get this caller, then we'll be back to you, Marcus. Caller, you're on the air. You're on the air, caller.
Yes, I just have a question. Like, what do you do when you live in a area whereas kids, well, adult kids, be standing on the corner selling drugs, and your kids can't walk past to go to the store, and they're constantly getting harassed?
You know, that's where we come together as a community, and we start talking about programs. Go to those CAP meetings. We have to make a presence and a showing, and let them know that, no, we don't want to stand for this. And when we go to those meetings and talk about the experiences that we're having, then they can kind of know what areas to target, where they can provide more police, where you can see them more, where they can come in and make sure that those guys are not standing around. There's laws that deal with loitering, but they're not reinforced because we won't reinforce them, because we won't go to the authorities and say, look, this is a problem for my kids. And it's very important that they make those CAP meetings and all of those other community meetings, and make sure that we become more visible, and we start talking about those marches and stuff, and we start talking about ceasefire and all of those things. All of those things are vital vessels to cleaning up the streets. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing is what we're talking about, getting these guys involved in programs. And the other thing that we know about programming is that the youth that stand on the corner a lot of times don't got nothing else to do. So we have to start to provide programs across the board. And that's why I was just talking about both sides of the fence. A lot of times we look at those what we call good apples, and we'll cast out the bad, but those are the ones that we definitely need to be working on and trying to get them to do some different things, because most of the good guys are doing good things. It's those other ones that we got to somehow try to focus on as well. So we have to continue to put it in the thinking cap and come up with programs that not just work for what we consider to be good kids, but also those kids who are on the borderline of doing right and wrong. Marcus, you had a question or a comment.
And also with that, oftentimes with the community council, what we did was we did a survey with youth. From the community, from the various communities within the 6th region, just to kind of find out what they know about what's already in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times they're standing on those corners because they don't know, you know, where to go. They're bored. They're looking for something to do. So the Youth Ready Chicago is not just a resource for parents. If you know kids, you know youth, you know, you can contact us and let us ask us about programs that may be in a particular area that you can refer kids over to. Or did you know that this program was down there on the corner? They play basketball on Mondays. You know, that may be something that would be of interest to some of those youth.
Right. And we also need individuals out there who have access to different programming to always give us a call, always contact it. Let's do some collaborations where we can actually put on some basketball tournaments, you know, some different things at different times where we have those youth, and also have some other resources available at that time so we can do some different things with our young people. It's going to be so very important that we all come together as a community in order to begin to change the direction that the city of Chicago is going into. We just had a new mayor-elect, and hopefully they'll be putting some of them resources into programs like what the Southside Help Center has, dealing with our mentoring programs, male and female, and also other social service agencies throughout the city of Chicago. We have to come together as one unit in order to begin to make changes to our community. And there's a lot of things out there. We're not talking about quick fixes. We're not talking about we have the answer. We're talking about good quality programs that we want you to get the kids involved in, and get you yourself get involved in, and hopefully we can make a change. You got a last comment you want to make, Mark?
Yeah, just I wanted to put the community council's numbers back up there. For
really quickly
for everyone to be able to see, so that they can the top one there. So that you can contact these are the community council coordinators throughout the city. All 6 of us work together. We meet once a week to discuss issues that are going on citywide with the youth, and we want to make sure that the youth out there know what's going on in their neighborhoods.
And if you take this one number down, 773-445-5445, extension
4241.
4241. If you need information about Youth Ready Chicago and what region that you actually in and how this program can help, March the 19th, Teen Summit from 10 to 3. Shelton Heights, 114th and Halstead. We're going to be there. You should be there as well. Until we see you again, we bid you peace.